Go to my Facebook. Welcome everybody. And today I've got Stacey Byerly with me, who is one of my favorite people. And we chat regularly. And we thought that these chats were so interesting that we would actually stream them to you so that you can partake. And they were super fun.
In a lot of ways, it ends up being like 4.5 hours or something like that.
It does. We're not doing 4.5 hours today. Well, I have a timer so that we don't go to 4.5 hours today. And I'm going to see if I can actually change the view here. Does that look better? Because I want to see if it does that view on Facebook. Let's see. So this is the first time we're streaming. We're sort of like testing out the technology a little bit and seeing how that works.
Episode 1, the beta test.
There we go. Yeah, so it works. So there's both of us on here now. Good. Yay! People who are joining us for the first one, this is how we roll. It is literally scattergun spaghetti approach. So
yeah,
it will evolve. It will get better. I'm going to share. So are you how can I share it? Share on a friend's profile. Nice. So let's see if that works. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I think if I share this, then it should actually go on your profile too. And I'll let you like put descriptive-y stuff. Okay. I'm going to share it like that. That should work. That should work. Fingers crossed. And I'm also going to share it to my group. I don't know, Stacey, if you have anywhere else you want to share it to?
Not at the moment.
Cool.
I'm
so that
sure
yeah, share it after. Yeah. Let's see how it goes. And so I think we've got someone joining us. So if you are here live with us, it's really, really cool. And we're so excited and so pleased to have you here. If you are here live, I can actually see, I've got another screen here. So if you can think I'm not just staring out the window, I am looking at my other screen. Although there is a window, but I'm not staring out the window. If you are joining us live, please do say hello. And if you are watching us on replay and anything comes up for you, we would love for this to be as interactive as possible. And we are just going to be having a chat. So hope you enjoy and let's get going. Okay. FOMO.
FOMO is pretty interesting at times. It's like fear of missing out. Missing out on what? Is that a societal thing or is it the family gathering? What is it?
And something's come up for me literally the last 2 days. I'm going to be 50 this year. And it seems like society's expectations of that birthday is like huge. You reach 50, it's like a big thing. And suddenly huge stuff has to happen. So I'm like, I have to do something for my 50th because otherwise, and this is the funny thing that came up, otherwise I'm going to have to wait till I'm reincarnated again before I get another 50th birthday.
Well, yeah, I mean, a do-over.
Yeah, like a do-over.
Yeah, society's ties into age and expectations around ages is really different based on place too. It's like a person in India may not have that same tie to being 50 or whatever age you are. That's the interesting part of it, is the world is so different, and then we all live in some sort of microcosm, no matter how much we try not to.
We do. So where doesn't look at which, do you know of any places that don't look at age? Because I'm obviously living in a tiny little mini bubble. And And a lot of times, you know, that you've got the 40, the 50, the 60, these are all apparently big birthdays. It's almost like you're so lucky to have stayed alive that long that you better mark it.
Oh yeah, well, that's an ancestral thing, isn't it?
That is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because how many of our ancestors live past that age?
Yeah.
Like really way back.
Really, since I've found, metaphysics in general, I seem to be aging in reverse. So
Oh,
it's
I
like,
love that. I choose to do that.
yes, make it so.
Make
But
it so.
it's, it's like, if you're not doing what you love, if you've got FOMO of society, I think
Mm,
you might have like this whole like, oh, it sucks getting older mentality.
mm,
It's like,
yeah.
FOMO of young people, FOMO of people that went on more vacations, but the
Hmm.
circumstances aren't the same.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like,
totally. And also, I think we forget that apart from, you know, financial stuff that comes in or whatever, we have chosen our life.
mm,
It's, you know, people don't, I think that we forget that it's all a series of little tiny choices and decisions,
yeah, it
micro
really is.
choices and decisions where you say yes or you say no. And that's actually shaped the path, isn't it? So
Right.
if we are getting FOMO, it's because we've chosen a different path. And that,
I mean, so there's a should have, could have, would have sort of thing. I
yeah.
wish I would have known
Mm-hmm.
about that, or I could
Yeah.
have gone left instead of right. I should have crossed the road.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it may be, is like you have, I guess, not to sound in lack, but a finite number of choices in this life. It's like, well, if you wish you would have gone the other way, well, make a plan and do it.
Mm.
You know,
Totally.
you can
Totally.
do
And
that.
you can do that. And I think the funny thing is also that when people sort of open up more to like the possibility that that's real, that you make the choices, that you decide, it's almost like, now I know about it, I've got to put so much pressure on myself to make the right choices.
Yeah. And in the words of one of my friends, he's a very dear friend of mine. He's like, there's no right or wrong choices, they're just different.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Completely.
and society has its own, blueprint of this is how you should be, and this is the ideal male or female body, or
Mm,
this is the ideal financial standpoint you should be at, or
yeah.
this is how what box you should fit into.
Yeah.
Everybody should be happy all the time.
Oh my
um
God. Yeah.
yeah,
that
Facebook
actually
in
pisses me
general
off.
is like, right, but Facebook
Yeah.
is a highlight reel of everybody's chosen favorite moments at
It
times.
is. It is.
Some people are authentic, like, well, I'm not feeling all that great, but like, we're
Mm.
talking about mainstream society. Mainstream society is like, let's repress what feelings we have.
Mm. And yeah, that's not very useful. And FOMO is part of that, because if you're, like you're saying, the shoulda, woulda, coulda, that goes in, and then the body has like resentments and regrets, and they actually get trapped in the body, and then
Mhm.
it starts to taint what you do have. You
Mhm.
start
Yeah.
looking at everything that you've got and comparing it to what is the picture of what you could have had or what someone else has got.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you do that, you start looking at things in almost like a dull, dusty, tarnished light, and it almost like it dims yourself.
your true authentic self,
Yeah.
your true creative self-expression, as one of my friends might say. Um, we're existing from moment to moment. It's not being perfect moment to moment.
Mm,
And some moments you're going to feel really great, and
yeah.
some moments you're not going to feel so great. And there are always going to be things we move through in life that aren't so simple. And
Mm,
keeping an eye on the body during all that, particularly after like a stressful time, it's a
mm,
really good idea to
mm.
get body work done.
Oh my God. It's it's something that I didn't realize just how important it was until it started happening. Because when I was much younger, I was always very active. So even when I would have these episodes of, a lot of stress, and we talk about stress as if it's a bad thing, but there is just as much stress on the body when you're in the ultra high
Mhm.
as in the ultra lows. I mean, I used to, you probably remember we've talked about this. I used to teach aerobics, and I used to
Mhm.
do this like 5-6 classes a day. So the endorphins are pumping, all of those happy hormones. The body is like in a state of euphoric ecstasy. That was how
Mhm.
it was for me, for 5-6 hours a day.
Mhm.
And I never got lows, but what I did get is, after a few years of that constant and never taking a break, because even when I'd go on holiday, I would go on activity holidays. So,
Mhm.
so I would
And be
never
like,
give,
this is
yeah,
a couch holiday.
yeah. Nowadays, I'll be like, where is the nearest lounger? Is it close to the water? Do I have to walk very far to get to the water? And that's it. That's my
Right.
idea now of a better holiday for me. Um, but years ago, I'd go skiing or surfing, or I'd pick somewhere where they had multiple activities that I would literally pack my holiday like a schedule. Like from 7
Yeah.
to 8, you have this, and then from 8 to this, you have that, and then you have a little time for breakfast, and that was a holiday. I mean, it's mad thinking about it now. Just thinking about it now just exhausts me.
Right. Yeah.
But it
The
was
whole
fun.
thing of like structured, and some of it might have been genuinely fun,
Oh, it was
but
all really fun, all fun,
right.
but it was
Yeah.
stressful. It was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was stressful on the body, because the body never got a chance to just be. I
Mhm.
didn't give it the chance. I didn't even give my mind that chance. It was like, you are scheduled, you are organized, and you will do this. And it was super fun. I loved every minute, but my body
Mhm.
paid a very, very significant price later on.
Mhm. And then I'm sure you might have had like this emotional low of like, now I'm kind of having to sit and recharge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, oh my goodness. I remember when I first did my how many years ago now, 4 years ago, something. I did that the human design chart, and you know that I do human design. And I found out that I was a projector, and I was like, what? 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 What do you mean I have to slow down? You mean I have to recharge? What? What is that?
Yeah, the Energizer Bunny has to recharge.
The Energizer Bunny has to recharge.
Yeah,
You see, no
exactly.
batteries, but the thing is, no batteries fit anymore.
Yeah, and I've been reading a bunch of Gabor Mate books. Dr. Gabor
Oh,
Mate
he's
says
amazing.
stuff about um, addiction, which
Mm,
we can be addicted to anything.
yeah.
And just like in theta healing and energetic marriage, you could be married to anything. I
Mm.
always like to say you can be married to a noun, a person,
Mm.
place, or thing.
Yes,
Or
exactly.
same thing with addiction, like
Mm,
person, place, or thing, or even circumstance. So
mm.
like maybe some people out there have been addicted to this whole like high strung circumstance. It's like,
Yeah.
here's how it goes. We're always like this. And if you don't have a regulated
Yeah.
nervous system, you'll have this whole like, but I'm doing nothing. And then you'll get kind of jittery of like, I should be doing something.
Yes. Oh my
I
God.
should be doing XYZ. And all of a sudden, like you're solving for something that doesn't exist. And the same with FOMO, the previous topic of you're solving for a need that doesn't actually exist in exterior things.
Mm, mm. And
So
do you think that we sometimes that we create that because we are addicted to it? We're addicted to that state.
yeah, that could, or that's can be addiction and avoidance. Avoidance of like what is in there, what's in here or in your brain that we're not looking at the moment.
Yeah, 100%.
Look at the shiny thing.
Yeah, yeah. Look at the shiny thing, and the shiny thing is not always. So again, like we're saying, you can be attracted to the shiny thing that's a great thing, but equally a shiny thing that is not a great thing. There are people who literally look for problems. They look to create problems and drama in their life because they're addicted to solving and to just being in that. That's their baseline energy field.
Yeah,
So
the baseline energy field on stress, trauma, and drama creates a overwhelming amount of cortisol. And if you're used to that amount of cortisol, you have to kind of re-regulate of like, okay, that's my mind saying I need to go do things at 1,000 miles an hour. And you just like recognize that that's there and walk it back and be like, okay, we're gonna go back to center now.
Yeah. But it can be quite hard. I mean, I know for myself that I've been doing this over the last few years, sort of almost like paring down my life, like shaving things off. So when I was back in the UK, I was out all the time, doing events, constantly out and about. And I loved it. I enjoyed it, but I didn't realize how tiring and exhausting it was until the lockdowns happened. And I think I talked about this in one of my posts, that like really I should have been thinking, oh, this is now, I'm going to have to change the way I do business. But what I actually was experiencing was relief. It was just total. And it was very difficult to actually explain that to anybody because it was seen as more like a cop-out,
What does relief look like?
Well, it was my body going, what, you mean, really? I don't have to? I don't have to go to events. I don't have to go out all the time. I can make choices based on how I feel rather than what seems to be the right business decision, because that's how it always was. It was like, what is the right, from all, from even when I started at the age of, I started working from when I was 17, but there always was on the mind was, what is the right career decision or the right business decision here? And that was like a guiding factor. My dad was a businessman, so it was like ingrained into,
Was it sort of linear thinking? It's like X plus Y equals money. You need to figure out what those two are, and they need to be correct every time.
But it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. I unpicked that in the book, in the Prosperity Codes book, in my chapter. I literally have that. What you've just described, that equation, is in there. This is literally how my brain was working. It's like this plus this equals this. Great. Now I know.
And then when you finally get to a point of fulfillment, which that's another topic that we can spend hours on, because fulfillment really has all the meaning to one person in one circumstance and none of the meaning to another. What I mean to that is fulfillment's different for everyone. What's fulfilling for one person may be like an absolute drag for the next. It's like the body types and the energy types and the human design types, all of that you have to keep in mind, not that we need to get into the weeds, but what fulfills you, what makes you get up in the morning.
Exactly.
And
It's so, even you, there's no, I actually don't believe that you can actually have an identical chart, but even as twins, so if you think about twins, their chart would actually look the same, because it is a calculation. It's based on a calculation. So if you have twins, their chart will look the same, and yet completely different people.
yeah, completely different people. And there's all these studies that Dr. Mate states and cites. It's like twins brought up in different areas of the world have different outcomes and all this sort of
Even
stuff.
twins brought up in the same household with the same circumstances. So yeah,
it's amazing the human body and human mind's ability to adapt is amazing.
Yeah,
it's so wonderful.
So we were talking about body work as like a deregulation, because I think a lot of times the temptation is, oh my God, there's so much stress and I'm just going to stop. And what I've noticed that happens sometimes when people they get to a point where they recognize that it's not sustainable, they're probably going to break if they continue, or maybe some health scares happened, so they look at their life and they literally like strip everything out and say, right, this is it. But when you've had that addiction to all of the hormones and things that are rushing through, that can sometimes take you into a very, very depressive state, because now you don't have that support. So going from up here to down here sometimes is not the best way. So using things like body work, which is what I found, and doing things gradually. And I think this is really a disease in society, is wanting everything fast and now.
Yeah, it's everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah. And that's a movie, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a movie which I haven't seen yet. But
no, I've got it on my little watch list, and I keep looking at it and going, not today.
I recently seen the Harlem Globetrotters a few days ago, and me and somebody were talking, and the bartender at the arena were talking. I remember when you had to watch things at a set time.
Yes.
It's like now you have everything.
Everything at any time.
Yeah, anytime. It's just a matter of which streaming service it's on.
Yeah, no, that's so true. That's so true. And replays, everything, because they don't want you to miss anything and they don't want to miss out, like the production people.
Yeah.
So we're just going to make it available all the time. We might charge you, but you'll still be able to watch it at your leisure, at your time.
Right. Yeah, most definitely.
And it's a blessing and a curse, though, isn't it?
Yeah, because you have like this, I find a really odd balance of like, yeah, it'll always be on there, I can watch it later. And like when you're into something, I get the whole like addictive thing of like just one more, and all of a sudden it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
So true. Yeah. I don't know what you're like, but I go on YouTube and I'll like type in a topic, and things like Bon Matin and all of these talks and bits of information, and then random crap. But I'll see a whole load of things and I'll add it to my watch later. Do you add things to your watch later?
Yeah, I haven't seen that list in a long time.
It's like, it's almost, for me, it's like I've added it to my watch later. It's like I've watched it. So
yeah, or she says something like this in cigarettes, like, okay, if I have the cigarettes next to me, I won't smoke them. So maybe it's sort of like that.
Maybe it's like that.
If I've got it on my watch later list, or if I've got it downloaded, I can always
go back to it.
Yeah. But imagine if those downloads were physical things, We need to
But
have shelves and shelves and shelves of stuff that
no
we haven't even
stuff.
looked at yet.
It's like the electronic version of hoarding, isn't it? We are
So,
all hoarders.
question number one, are you a digital hoarder?
Yeah, I so am. We were talking just before we went on live, and I was saying to you that when I came over here to Australia, I had 6 boxes of books, and then very proudly I was like, but you know what? I have a lot of them on my Kindle, and then I had my daughter with my manuals. I have loads of manuals from all the various things. Scan every manual in, and I have it on my Google Drive. So yes, I am a digital hoarder. I haven't looked back. I think I've looked at one manual since it's been 17 months, 16, 17 months, and I've looked at one manual that was scanned in.
Yeah. I'll never forget. This is kind of a shock for me when it first happened. When I decided to go nomadic for a period of time, I was like, okay, it's sort of like when you move, but it's constant or somewhat constant, right? So I was like, have I used this in 1 month? Have I used it in 2
That's
months?
interesting. And
then after 3 months, I was like, well, now how much is it? Like, is it difficult to replace, that sort of thing?
yeah.
If it was above 3 months, I just gave it away or sold it.
Yeah. And isn't that
Including
when you sort of declutter? I know my husband and I, when we were back in the UK, we had a loft that was mostly full, but we would randomly sort of go up there. And for us, it was a year because we're in our own home. So anything that hadn't been used in a year or season, you know, the previous season,
right,
would go.
Mm.
And yet we brought everything over here. Which we
Right.
because we're like,
How many
we don't
duplicates
really
did you find?
how many duplicates? We don't do duplicates. That is one good thing. That's something which I noticed that I didn't take on from my mum. Has like spares of everything. So if your kettle would go, there is another 1 or 2 in the loft waiting for you. It's like there's no shops exist, but there's kettles. Or there was like, I mean, there was the oddest thing. Those kettles, it was kettles, toasters, and you know those combo grills, the little mini combo grills.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The funniest thing. And I would say but you know that you can actually just pick that up anywhere. Yes, but I have it. And I'm thinking,
it reminds me of that whole period at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020.
Oh my God.
Everybody's in constant shock over like, I don't have toilet paper, but wait, I need toilet paper. Do you really need that much toilet paper?
But you do
not. I remember, you know, I'm out and about a lot, so I was not home a lot after I moved to South Dakota in the States. I bought one big thing of toilet paper. It lasted me 11 months.
Okay, I'm not commenting.
Oh, well, I mean, my whole point in that is like,
yeah, no, you don't need to hoard.
There was some like shock value. They were trying to keep us a little bit like, but wait, could lose access to your food, water, shelter, or basic needs, as Maslow's hierarchy of needs says. So
exactly, that basic, and that I think is a lot of people's they misunderstand that when that part is unstable, that bit, all of the accelerated thinking, all of the conceptual thinking just shuts down, and that is all that you focus on. That's it. And it may not even be, you know, it's not even that it's necessarily real. For some people, I mean, I'm not doubting for any moment that for some people that was actually real, obviously.
Right, not doubting any moment either.
Yeah.
But there's rational and
irrational. And that's, I think, a lot of what all of these different media sources, you know, everywhere, it's almost like they're in cahoots, right? We want to keep people on these lower parts of the pyramid, because then we can decide the direction and the way society is going to be.
Not to mention what feels safe.
Yeah.
So one thing that I find useful in that circumstance is to actually write it out on paper. What do you actually need? Or just the simple thought of it. The thought of, is this a rational thought? Is this is this my ego, or is this my survival self?
Yeah.
And cutting things off, or is it actually a fear that is real?
And I think for someone like, you've done a lot of traveling, sort of recently, you've just been going from place to place, and like you said, you start to then look at, do I need to literally carry this with me everywhere? What do I actually need? And I think, the digital nomad movement, I think that one's actually quite useful to look at from the perspective of, what do you actually need? Because I've always been in awe of people who do like backpacking and trekking, and they can just go on it's like 6-month trip with a backpack. I'm the one who takes like 20,000 suitcases, because I'm very, very I'm high maintenance. I will say I'm high maintenance. I take a lot of stuff. But I had a friend who literally was in the States for 6 months, and she said to me, she's a stylist, she always looks amazing, and she only had cabin luggage. Like, she didn't even have like a case. She just cabin luggage, and she looks phenomenal all the time. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, guru, I need to learn from this. This would be so useful.
Yeah, people, the thoughts that I've gotten are from being a digital nomad. I'm in one spot for a while now, but I spent 3-4 months traveling, and people were like, are you safe? Do you have what you need? I'm like, yeah, of course.
Yeah. And but look at that, if you just sort of hear that question, it tells you where they are.
What people say about you is often a reflection of what they're saying about themselves.
Yeah. Oh, so true. My God.
So, not that I wouldn't welcome genuine concern. That's not what I'm saying.
No, of course. Yeah. So
I'm merely saying it's interesting how that ebbs and flows.
It ebbs and flows, yeah. And if you're in that space, if you're feeling that way, then again, the body is impacted. So as soon as you get into that survival self, then all of the body's survival kicks in. The sympathetic nervous system, the fight, faint, fawn system. And it's there, and it's literally switched on all the time. And that, I think, is something that people don't quite realize. That is, it's not like when you have a big event and then it's a shock and then the shock wears off. It's the body is in that space all the time. And what I have noticed, and this is, I think it's quite interesting, because I just observed this, that sometimes people say, my intuition is all lit up. I'm open to everything. But that can also be a sign of hyper awareness, which is one of the symptoms of an over shocked system, a system that is on alert.
I forget who said this, but it was in my adventures in YouTube somewhere. We should have a section of this called YouTube Adventure. But a person who is in tune with the whole room or like focuses on somebody in the room is often somebody who was possibly abused as a child or went through some hard times recently. So they're hyper aware of everyone else's
Everything.
cues and thought forms, thought patterns, energies, all of that. So yeah, you're right. It is from not being able to effectively regulate your nervous system.
And yeah, and the only way to do that is actually is body work. It is literally to allow like gradually to teach, reteach, retrain all of the systems to be back into that relaxed space. And even there's a misnomer. Like a relaxed state is not flopping around, lounging on sofa, doing nothing and being wearing, you know, like not doing anything. You can be like super relaxed and still be aware, alert, fast. In fact, it's so much better state in terms of productivity, what you can accomplish, efficiency, all of the practical things go so much better. Your conscious mind, its logical systems work better, and it allows itself to be informed by the subconscious without the filters of fear, old abuse patterns, trauma. So it's getting a much clearer sense, and it's still intuitive, and you can still tune in and be aware, but without being aware alert.
Yeah, or I think another word for that is hypervigilance.
Yes. Yeah. And you see, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that till we're talking like a good, when did I do that session with? I had a session with I have a trauma lady who helps me through stuff. Because I'm easily affected. I'm very sensitive. And so she's sort of around when things get a bit too much. Because it even knowing all of this, it's still, for me, still easy to let it happen. So
and sometimes it's like that outside voice, the outside observer.
Yes.
Like, oh, well, this modality has this tool for it, and this modality has this tool for this. And you even said that to me, and I was like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but people sort of think, oh, if you can't sort it all out yourself, there's something wrong with you. But why do we have other people in the world then? Why are we not a little world of our own?
Right. It's a little world of our own. And really, no matter how big or small the world is, we all live in that world. A little world of our own that is sometimes difficult to get out of. No matter how much work you've done as a person, when you're in the thick of it, as TikTok would say, it's tough for you to look at the situation objectively sometimes.
Yeah, completely.
So, and that's where okay, you need to ask a trusted friend or take a breath and sometimes drop it and come back later.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
Stress and anxiety is nothing but a cloud. And if you're trying to either manifest from this cloudy perspective, or if you're trying to get something done in that cloudy perspective, it's not fun, it's not fulfilling, it's just like you're lugging this really heavy backpack around. Yeah.
And I remember watching my husband doing like carpentry. He does a lot of woodwork and very good with his hands, and he would be building something and he would start to get frustrated. And again, this is outside observer, I'm watching this, And I'm just thinking to myself, and I don't want to say anything because it's getting more frustrating, it'll just turn on me. But I'm thinking, if you just put your stuff down, just walk, get up, take a 20-second walk around and come back, it will be different.
Yeah, because you're not looking at it from the same point of view as before.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the great good Einstein quotes, isn't it? You can never solve a problem from the level of thinking that created the problem.
Right. So what are some of your tips for getting out of that hyper vigilant state, or the hyper awareness state, or the hyper stress response?
Yeah. Well, first, I would say the main thing is actually recognize that you're there, and then drop all the judgment. It's like,
I agree wholeheartedly. It's like, I should be able to handle this. There's another should.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we should drink every time we should. It's,
a world full of drunks.
right.
I've got my gin bottle behind there.
But getting out of that, what really works well for me is getting out of the environment entirely.
Yeah. We spoke about this. It was like getting out of the environment initially, I think, is very useful, because like you said, getting out of that cloudy space helps you to rethink. But then being able to be in your life without that is a process, and having someone trusted to talk to, working out where you are actually addicted, because a lot of the times it is because you are living your life in a way that isn't sustainable, and your body is kicking out and it is going, no. And how long will you wait until you listen to the body? Will it take a health scare? Will it take a collapse? Will it take depression? Will it take a psychotic break? People do drive themselves so far that it's like, now there is no rational thinking. There is nothing going on apart from, I'm just going to throw my toys out of the pram. I'm going to destroy my entire life, because they can't see straight as to what is working, what isn't. So everything's not working.
Yeah.
And
when everything's not working, and sometimes in the grand scheme of life, when that promotion's not coming, or that manifestation's not coming, or whatever it may be, when you finally do get to the point where it does come, or you make progress, you might back up and look at things being like, I really was making progress at that point in my life where I thought nothing was happening.
Exactly.
Maybe even faster than you thought, even though in the moment it feels like molasses.
Exactly. And actually, I literally experienced this recently with one of my girls has had some diagnosis issues. So she's high on she's on the spectrum, and we've been dealing with it for the last year and that kind of thing. And we did a review, because we did a life wheel. Like, you've seen these in the coaching industry, yeah? And
I have.
Have you not seen these sort of things?
Where that specific model.
Yeah, this is like different areas of your life. I do this with clients sometimes if I'm doing coaching. So you've got spirituality, creativity, finances, career, education, health, physical activity. Cooking's on here, I'm not sure why. Home environment, relationships, social life, and joy. And you can make any, it's not rigid as to what you put on the wheel. You can put whatever you want on the wheel, but usually it's around 10 areas of life that you look at, and you mark it on just how does it feel. There isn't like I tend to like to measure things like, what does that word actually mean? So what am I measuring against? And then I've been looking at unpicking what that means. Like, for example, for me, I had social life. I did this at the beginning of the year, and I repeated it now, and it was like, it's still quite low. And then I was like, what does that actually mean to you? And I was still measuring it on years ago where I was out nearly all the time. So that was a good social life. Whereas when I marked down and it was sort of in the middle, quite low, I'm like, well, that doesn't feel bad. That actually feels really good. But it's just my measurement is skewed. So, you know, what am I marking it? But anyway, in terms of progress, we did the life before for my daughter, before and after. And she was literally, actually, no, me. I couldn't see the progress because I was living with it day in, day out.
Yeah.
And it took an outside person. We've had, it's not me that's been doing this. I've had an outside person working with us as a family so that it's not me doing it. I think that's important, is to sometimes allow the outside help in and to let it guide. And she's the one who said to me, this is where you were. This is what was happening. And now you are here and it feels like no progress has been made, but not because no progress has been made, because you have been moving the goalposts. And that's the other thing, is to remember, and this is like when you have like business goals, like I want to make a certain amount of money, and then at some point you need to sort of recognize that the goal is always growing, but you are making progress. So having those sort of stakes in the sand to see that you are, like, you know, if every time you see a person you get really, really annoyed and irritated, and you've been working on yourself, and then you see them and actually there's no reaction, that's huge progress.
Yeah, that's huge. And what comes to mind for me is whose goalposts are you actually following?
Yeah, well, there is that societal stuff, isn't it? The FOMO.
Yeah, and the FOMO, and not only that, like, not only societal, is like your family.
Yeah.
What was your upbringing? Whose role are you following? Are you trying to be your aunt, uncle, mother, father, instead of your true centered self? Yeah.
So looking at your progress, I think, is, so, you know, tips wise, I'd say just stop first and realize that you're in that space. And it may take like a loved one to say things aren't great because we don't always recognize it. As I said to you, that this trauma lady, it's her who actually said to me, I was there thinking, I'm so aware. Oh my goodness, I can feel everything. But every time a sound would happen behind me, I was like this. I was like literally on eggshells all the time. And she sort of reminded me the difference between awareness and being in tune with your environment in a healthy way and this hypervigilance that comes in.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a balance there. My tip for that is sort of nuanced because it can move around. Where in your body do you feel this?
Yeah.
Like, is it in your heart? Is it in your left leg, your right leg? In the past, I've had a lot of painful situations and chronic pain and all this sort of stuff. That's your body telling you something. When you have a chronic pain or something like that that's recurring, it's like, you didn't get the message before. Here we are. Hello.
That's so true. Like, we're back.
So where in your body do you feel this, and what does it need? Yeah.
What does it mean? And not necessarily searching for like a concrete answer. That's the other thing, is we can get very much obsessed sometimes with finding the answers. And sometimes the answer isn't something like concrete. And this is where you're talking about body work. Body work is not something always that your mind can actually comprehend or contemplate. So it's literally what is trapped in there. And we don't always need to know. Sometimes actually it's even better that we don't know, especially if it's very old, deep trauma that's just been lodged in there. And it may not be something significant. People think when you talk about trauma that it has to be significant, but trauma for one person is completely different to someone else. And it's just how it is stored, how it's been encoded.
Yeah. And, it's not, what I'm about to say is like living with trauma is like, we all have it. We all have experienced it in one way or another. It's about how living with it, to me, is like how you react to stressful situations.
Yeah.
How do you react to it? How do you live with this chaotic world that we sometimes find ourselves with? So how you react to it is what needs work. I mean, it's what can be trauma in one circumstance, meaning before the work is done, and after can be the same exact circumstance.
Yes.
It's
It's
with
not,
trauma and without trauma. It's like,
it's your body's not reacting to it in the same way anymore.
yeah, your body's not reacting to it the same way. You don't have the same filters as you did 10 years ago.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. That's just super, super important to notice that. And when we're talking about body work, what sort of body work? I mean, you've had loads of body work. I love body work. What sort of body work do you find really helps?
I find massage really helps. I try to get one at least once a month or something like that. What I've found is, like, when I first started doing them, it was like, you don't deserve that. Okay.
That's a great story.
Right. Yeah, that's a great story. That's an interesting story. And massage is a luxury, which, that's another story. It's like, once we flip that, is like, like, there's a tie in society from self-care and luxury.
Yes.
For some people.
Yeah.
If one
And that
has
comes down to that survival place, isn't it? Because if you go down to that bit, that's not in there. You're just literally living day to day to be fed, watered, and sheltered. So
right. And what's more interesting than that is, like, we don't live where you need to run. Most of us, anyway, don't need to run from tigers anymore.
Yeah.
And tigers not gonna kill you. It's like, but whether you stress about one thing or another, some things are repetitive, and the body's stress responses for lions, tigers, and bears, oh my.
Yeah. And now it is Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, oh my.
Right, exactly. So is this irrational? Is it real, or is it rational? Is it my problem that I'm trying to solve? Is it somebody else's problem I'm trying to solve? Meaning, is this my family's way of looking at, relaxation, money, all this sort of stuff? Just having your own bar, being your own measuring stick.
Totally. Yeah. So for me, massage also, like, really, really super important. I found that osteopathy and chiropractic also really works well, because that release in the joints allows stuckness to start being dissipated. So I found that to be very useful. And then also, like, energetic body processes, but hands-on. It's the touch, I find, that actually does the work. The tactile stuff. But I would concur. Massages are hugely beneficial for moving stuck energy, moving and teaching the body that it's safe to let go. And it can take time. I don't know about you, but finding a good masseur who doesn't hurt you, but also isn't so light that you don't actually feel much benefit. And there's a great balance there. So
there's a great balance there. It's, in one day may be different than another. particularly with stress level and whatever else is going on in your reality at the moment.
Yeah. And then the other thing which I've realized just how important it is when I've not had the luxury of doing it is movement, exercise, but not intensity necessarily. So we're not doing it for necessarily the fitness benefits, but we're doing it for the energetic and mobility benefits, mobility, stability. So yeah, and if you can do it in nature, oh my God, even better.
Yeah, forest is nice.
Yeah, forests are good. Beaches are good. Basically anywhere that's got natural. And I know that a lot of people may be living in cities. Just go to a park. There are parks in cities. Go to the park and sit with a tree. Sit with a tree. and yeah.
Sit with a tree, sit on the grass, have some fun with just observing your surroundings.
Yeah. And another nuance to that is a lot of people will do that, but then they'll take a book with them or their phone and they'll listen to stuff. I would challenge anybody to just take half an hour without anything, because otherwise you're just still engaging the brain in the old patterns.
Yeah, and as a person that does this sort of stuff for a living, sometimes doing nothing for an hour is sometimes difficult.
Very, very much so. Very much so. And literally doing nothing is literally doing nothing, not watching TV, not reading, not even reading fiction, just literally just being with yourself. And it can be very, very uncomfortable, not even meditating, like none of it, nothing that's like a prescribed activity.
Yeah. And then how does that feel in your body? Just after doing that for an hour, how did that feel? Did you feel like you need to get up and run, or did that feel nice? How did that feel?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Depending on the comfort level, you might then look at seeing, okay, my body is not used to that. Maybe it is still in that heightened state and it's going to take time to come down. Or yeah, I'm just not used to that. We call that for human design when I work with people. This is for any design. So this is any human, basically. We call it pure aura time. So this is where your body gets your whole being, not just your body, everything, every part of you, whether you believe in energetic stuff or not, even if you're just thinking body and mind, needs that reset. And that is the reset. That's like the restart button. And where you used to have to restart and wait a little bit. I don't know if you remember those days of computers where you'd have to wait a little bit for the reset.
When in doubt, restart.
Yeah.
In this context, it'd be like, when in doubt, refocus
Or reset, recalibrate, whatever you want to call it, whatever feels good for you. Relax.
Yeah. What's that song? Relax, don't do it.
Yeah. Good song. Actually, all the lyrics now are coming to me. Don't do it when you want to start to it, or jump to it, isn't it? When you want to jump to it. So step back, chill.
Yeah. So that's like the ending tip is chill.
Yeah, that's it. Chill.
Do what you can to chill and rebalance the body.
Yeah. And so I think we're not far past our 40 minutes deadline. I think we've done pretty well.
Yeah, we've done pretty well.
And if you have been watching, I hope you have enjoyed it. We are planning on doing this around fortnightly or so, we said?
Yeah, something like that.
So there will be more notice than this time round. So we will give you a time and date, and love for you to join us. We've been on, I'm just looking at the thing, we've been on about an hour. That's not too bad. That's shorter than our usual, like 3-4 hours. So I think that's pretty cool.
Right.
So we hope
Yeah.
you've enjoyed that, and love for you to write any thoughts that come to you, anything that maybe you've experienced and you've got a story to tell. Please do that either on my profile or on Stacey's profile. And if you want to contact us, obviously we're on Facebook, so whatever, just whatever. But yeah, we would really love to hear what your thoughts are. Love to just have some conversations.
Yeah.
And maybe you've got like some amazing tidbits that you would love to share. We're totally like super open to hearing from you. Yeah. So you have anything else to say?
No, that about covers it. We might get into another 1.5-hour conversation, but it has always been wonderful speaking with you. It's always a joy.
Always fun. And yeah, I love doing this. This is cool. I actually, I don't, whether someone watches it or not, maybe they'll get some inspiration. Maybe just like a few words that we say might help someone along with something, and that would just be amazing. But we're just enjoying each other's company, which is also amazing.
Yeah, this is made for whoever sees it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Bye.